You can and should be encrypted. Hi everyone, I'm Yannik, co-founder and encrypted CEO at Arcium. And what I want to give you a little bit of context about today is a set of powerful applications that our encrypted supercomputer at Arcium is enabling. So the problem that we are addressing with Arcium is by default, everything on-chain, everything on Solana is public. But there's some stuff that should remain private. And so there's a myriad of reasons why stuff should be private. But I think one very logical reason to think about privacy is onboarding more people onto Solana. And for that, we have to realize that some users have an expectation in regards to privacy. And if, for example, we look at institutional finance, more than 60% of daily US spot volume isn't being traded within exchanges, but instead off exchange in dark pools, where there's privacy by default. So if we want to onboard these kinds of users into Solana, we need to provide them with the infrastructure and platforms to remain private. And so in general, when thinking about privacy, I always want to transport the message that we have to think about privacy in means of enabling new and more powerful applications instead of thinking about privacy as a purely political issue. And if we think about privacy as something that becomes a logical business decision to adopt because it enables more powerful applications, we will see more privacy adoption. And so with Arcium, we allow everyone to encrypt their data. And what that means is that within your transactions on Solana, you just include some encrypted messages. And you encrypt them in a way where programs on Solana can have encrypted shared state. So encrypted state by all of the users. And then using Arcium, we are able to process that encrypted data using encrypted computations without ever having to see the underlying data. That's the powerful new primitive that we are enabling on Solana. And so you can think of Arcium as sort of an encrypted network extension to Solana, where Arcium is an encrypted computing providing stateless network that sits beside Solana, enabling encrypted shared state and encrypted computations. So in order to facilitate all of that, we've done a lot of foundational research at Arcium. And right now, Arcium is in public testnet. And our goal with Arcium is to streamline privacy as much as possible, enable every application to have encrypted computing, and do so in the most efficient and high throughput way possible while remaining as trustless as we can. So one of the first applications that we are enabling with Arcium is a new form of DeFi, confidential DeFi. And confidential DeFi is basically a set of different kind of confidential markets, like, for example, dark pools or encrypted order books, private lending, etc. And what's so interesting about these applications is that all of your trades and orders can remain fully encrypted, fully private, while the matching of all of those orders is being performed in a privacy-preserving, fully encrypted way using Arcium. And by using Arcium, what we enable is the elimination of trust requirements and single points of failure. You can simply, as a developer and user, use encrypted computing without having to worry about any trusted intermediaries. And this kind of privacy is a fully configurable kind of privacy. That means that it can enable not just data to fully remain encrypted, but data can also become public. Data can be shared with different parties. It's all configurable at the end of the day. And we currently have a demo of such an application live on Solana DevNet using the Arcium testnet, where there's a fully encrypted order book hiding all of the trades and matches. We are not just enabling encrypted computing for DeFi, but for basically every application on top of Solana. I think that most applications benefit from having access to composable encrypted computing without having to be entirely encrypted, for example. And some example application could be a deepen project using Arcium to coordinate in an encrypted way and aggregate data in an encrypted way. What we are essentially doing is opening up a new design space. And so what we also did last year is we acquired our largest Web2 competitor, who've been leading in encrypted AI for healthcare, defense, and finance. And this acquisition allowed us not just to accelerate the technology that we are offering at Arcium, but also allowed us to greatly accelerate the movement speed of cryptography and encryption on top of Solana. And so one of the new use cases that we are now able to facilitate is end-to-end encrypted machine learning, which means that there's data, in most cases highly sensitive data, that is being used to train models. That data is getting encrypted. The models that are being trained remain fully encrypted as well. And the inference into those models can again be fully encrypted. So no inputs, no outputs, no underlying models and training data have to be exposed. And that becomes especially interesting if being paired with Solana programs, which then are being used to gate access to those encrypted models to which nobody has direct access, in order to create new economic incentive models for providing the actual data used to create those models. What we're also working on is what we're calling encrypted intelligence. And in this regard, we've started onboarding traditional healthcare into Arcium. So within hospitals and healthcare institutions, there exist those isolated data silos of high quality data that cannot be shared. And using Arcium, we are able to protect this sensitive patient data. And we are able to train models over that data without anyone ever having to share their data, because all that's happening at the end of the day is an encrypted collaboration between all of the participants involved. And what that leads to is a new form of shared encrypted intelligence amongst all, leading to some amazing new properties, leading to more insights and better predictions. So what I want you to take away from this is that encrypted computing is composable. It allows for an entirely new design space on top of Solana. And this form of encrypted computing is only possible by pairing cryptography and distributed computing. And we are not just enabling this design space on top of Solana for Solana developers, but we are at the same time onboarding institutions and players that don't care about Solana, that don't care about the underlying technology, that just care about this form of encrypted computing. So I'm looking forward to this better internet that we are building together, and the part that we are doing in that regard with Arcium is allowing for everything to be encrypted while anything can be computed. Thank you very much for your attention.